Hello there. Welcome to the channel again. Today I want to talk about something that I've been having a lot of questions about. First of all, a lot of people ask me why I braid so many quirts, for example. And a lot of braiders are getting more into braiding quirts. And I got a couple of them that I've made, and I particularly like this more California style of quirt. And there's a reason why so many people nowadays are back into making quirts. And this goes from beginners to TCAA masters. And for me, the biggest reason is that a lot of people seem to go back to the quirt and not just working range cowboys that use their quirts on their leg or their chap or shank to create energy to get a hurt to move. But for me personally, I feel that the quirt is a really important tool to get our horse to do something. And that does not mean, over, under, or, whip the heck out of a horse. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is getting a horse to understand the conversation better and do it in a more polite way to the horse that's easier for the horse to understand. What do I mean by that? I think we all ride with spurs, right? And when I'm riding my cow horse saddles, I like a shorter spur. If I'm riding a wade or something else, then I like a little longer spur, but with a drop down shank. Now, what are these tools for, in my opinion? They are not to create forward motion. 1. 2, they are not to jab a horse in the ribs with and use as a tool for punishment. These are dialogue enhancers. By that I mean, a neurosurgeon that's going to perform surgery, he's not going to do that with a machete. He's going to have a very sharp, very specialized knife, or even a laser beam to make very precise cuts with. Now, if I cue my horse with my leg, I got a pretty wide, long point of contact where I can put pressure with. Now, if I want to refine that, and I want to work only on the rib cage, or I want to work only on the shoulder, or I want to work only on the hip, I can refine my signal with any of these. Now, what if your horse does not react to the conversation? Well, I think as horsemen, we all learned that if a horse wants to be heavy on our hands, we will use our feet and get them off our hands. So I feel that we can use our hands to get them off our feet when we don't get a reaction. And for that, I use a quirt. So if I'm trying to signal my horse to move his shoulder to my left in this case, and I'm setting it up and he doesn't find it, or he ignores me, or he does whatever, instead of taking the pressure off and do this in order to get better response, I will push with my leg first, turn my toe out, get contact with the spur, push with the spur, maybe roll with the spur a little bit. But if he still doesn't, I'm going to tap that shoulder, and that shoulder is going to go. And if I keep on repeating that, that means that whenever he feels me setting it up, he's going to go there, because I'm working with a progressive cue. I'm giving the horse the best deal first, but he has to take that best deal first. Same for the hip. If I'm asking for his hip and he ain't going, I can, hey, move that hip around. Moreover, I use a quirt for more forward motion. If my horse is a little lazy, I'm not going to jab him with my spurs. I keep my spurs for a good conversation. I want my horse to be able to trust my spur and my leg cue. But I will, whip him on the butt and go, hey, we're going somewhere. By the same token, let's say I'm doing a spin and he's like real good, but he's not putting a lot of effort in there. And I drive him out of that spin, wake him up, go back into the spin, and he is not giving me any effort. I can go, hey, move, and wake him up. Now, the biggest side effect of a quirt for me, and what I see, especially when I'm sitting in the judge's chair, is what we see today all over the world. In Europe, probably less than in the US, for example, are tail jobs. Tails being done with tail blocks or whatever method they use to get a tail to lay down, because people will say a horse with an overactive tail is showing resistance or discomfort. So instead of doing something about that, it's easier to block the tail so it just hangs down and there's no movement. For a lot of horsemen, that tail is just as, if not more, offensive than an overactive tail. But when my horse can really trust enough confidence in my leg and in my spur, and when that needs reinforcement, I use a quirt, then that tail is going to be a lot more quiet. And on a lot of videos I had on Facebook and whatever, or being at a horse show, I had a lot of comments from people asking me, hey, how did you get their tail done? Because it looks so natural. Well, we didn't get the tail done. Ever since day one, we made sure that that horse can trust our legs, our feet, and our spurs. And they're not used for reprimanding or punishing or whatever. If I need to get my point across to the horse more with my feet or my spur, and that is obviously at that point in time not enough, I can go to my quirt. And of course, once we're talking bridle horses, I most always ride a horse one-handed in a bridle in row mount reins, because I can, I guess. And I just like them more than a leather split rein. But then again, the romal is nothing more than a quirt. If you look at Bill Doran Styles romals, it's actually a braided rein and a braided quirt joined together. So that's a little bit I wanted to say about the spur versus the romal, where I should actually say the spur and the romal. So if you like what we're doing, subscribe to our channel and like the video. See y'all next time.